Lisa,
Hello, Mike. What's up?
hello. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for your time to come
Thanks
and
for
hang out
having
with
me.
me on a Friday. Technical problems galore as usual. I'm kind of embarrassed by that because as my where I make my living is in technical stuff, and can't seem to figure this out.
Yeah, everybody's internet is different, I think.
Yeah, so internet got upgraded. I've got a mesh network going in my house. It's like insane internet. But for some reason, uh, we're using Skype, and then I'm using Ecamm, is the name of the software to record this. For some reason, after like 3 or 4 minutes in, and I think it has to do with the buffering of how it's writing to the disk and everything. Like I've shut everything off on my computer. I literally only have these two things going. I prioritized it on my network, everything. So the network stuff's good. But for some reason, when I start running these things and recording them, the bandwidth just like gets sucked up so quick. Um, the other problem with it, and you'll probably be able to speak to this, is just the size of the files. It's like when I get done recording one of these, it's 4.5, 5 gigs
Yep.
of
That's a
raw
huge
stuff.
render. Yeah, that's a big file.
Yeah. So let's talk about why you know that. So, you have like a really cool background that I'm not gonna lie, have been more than jealous of, because you
Yeah,
have gotten to do something that I'm very passionate about as a hobby, for a living in your storied career. So, not where you are today, but let's talk about like your video background and uh, your photography background and kind of where you were, how you got to where you are today, and what you're doing today that's in marketing.
sure. I've actually had to answer this question a lot lately because where I'm at now is a drastic change from where I started. So
Sure.
people are always curious in that story. Um, so I do share it a lot, but if I really answer the question and give the full backstory, I would answer it by saying I had a camera at 4 years old that I didn't put down. Um, According to my parents, I was also writing books at 4 years old.
Oh
Books, I
wow.
mean, like
Yeah, sure.
probably computer paper, like dribble, who knows? But I think I've always viewed myself as someone who loves art, who loves writing, who
Yeah.
loves, I mean, lots of things, but definitely the creative side is what it's always just been part of who I am. Um, So in my early 20s, I started a photography business doing portraits and stuff. Eventually did weddings, which is a ton of work. It's great. You're in charge of a very important day that you cannot mess up,
Yeah.
and that can go a number of ways. But it was a really good experience, and I still do some of that on the side now. Love doing landscapes.
Yeah.
I was always the friend at every party that was documenting everything. I was always
Yeah.
the sister who was documenting every family vacation. I always had the video camera. I was always that person.
Yeah.
So I think it was kind of a natural progression to where it just kind of played out in my career in that way. I had started as a content writer, uh, pretty much just blog posts, brochures, web copy,
Yeah.
things like that, and used my degree. Dang, I'm giving you all kinds of edits here. My degree was actually in like a journalism creative writing background as well. So
Okay.
it I meshed the writing together and the photography eventually in my marketing career. It's like a long way of saying it.
Yeah.
Um, but but definitely found I have a very good friend who always said, do something well enough that somebody will pay you to do it. And
Yeah.
I think we've both kind of taken that. She's an architect. We both kind of have taken that and applied it to our own lives and how it's worked out. But um, so yeah, I did general marketing, did the writing, eventually did kind of a marketing manager kind of role, and then was like, I just want to focus on video now. And that was the need of the business at the time. As we were splitting up people's marketing roles, I was like,
Yeah.
I will do video. Love it. That's my thing. I love writing the scripts. I love producing them. I like filming them. I will be
Yeah.
your one person shop for that. Um, so yeah. took it to there, did that for like six years about, and then was like, okay, now I need to try something different and see some different parts of that marketing and sales
Yeah.
funnel. So enter the channel role. That's where I'm
Yeah.
at now.
So in that all the story of that, it always strikes me. I love the stories of people that have had something that they're passionate about and then followed that passion to a degree. There's been so many things in my life throughout my career and even before my career, just like things that I enjoy doing in life. Um, One of them was music. So for a really long time, I played drums and did it, you know, I'll say professionally. I made money doing it. I wasn't the most successful, obviously. I have a real job now. I'm not playing drums in rock bands all over the place. Not that anybody's doing that these days. But it was one of those things where it was like super passionate for me. And I gave up the passion and drive for that to chase stability. Which I've found more passion and enjoyment out of the stability part of it because now it's like, oh, I have a job, yes, and at some degree there was like, oh, when I stopped playing the drums professionally, I stopped making money doing that, and I was chasing a career versus chasing a music career. I started to see, okay, well, uh, there's a lot of cool things that I can do with the stability part that I wouldn't be able to do before from a music
Hmm.
perspective, right? It's like,
Hmm.
and even photography. So I got into
Right.
photography. I had some photography stuff that I used to do in high school. I did photojournalism as an elective class or something, and my dad had a camera, and so I'd take some film stuff and do some things there. And then it was right on the cusp of digital stuff coming out, and digital was way too expensive, and I was like, gave up on the film thing, and I just was like, I just won't do anything with it. And then I was interested in it and wanting to get back into it, and then I had my first kid, and then I was like, how much does it cost to have newborn photos? I was like, I
Yeah.
can go buy
Yeah.
a really nice camera for that price, I promise. Telling my wife, look, I can go spend the thousands of dollars on a camera and a lens, and then I can recreate these same photos, I promise. And if not, we can take them back. We can take it back. We'll do it like quickly, and then uh, I was like, and then we can just do newborn photos any day of the week that you choose and want to do it, or whenever she's in a good mood and wants to take a picture, we'll take
It's a
pictures.
good selling point, Mike. Maybe you should have been
Yeah.
in sales. Yeah, good selling point.
So,
Uh-huh.
uh, so I've always been kind of like envious of people that took that passion thing that they had as a kid and like saw it through, which is what you're doing. But I'm interested to hear that switch. I'm interested to hear kind of like, okay, you had that and you were going there. What was it that switched you over to say? I mean, you said you were interested in other parts of marketing, but was there some kind of driving force to say you wanted to go that direction, or you wanted to not like have your passion be that you want to do 24/7 be also your job?
I think it's probably a mix of both. And as a creative person, I think Nicole Heedy, who you interviewed a couple weeks
Yeah,
back, kind of touched on this too. When you're a creative factory, if you will, um, it's a lot different when it's like creative. Like every other hour, you're turning out projects, you're doing stuff. Actually, I think more this exact moment in time than I was 2 years ago because it's more fresh.
yeah,
So I think, however, I mean, I may go back to it, I may not go back to it, I may do it in a different kind of capacity. Um, I needed to kind of do a reset there to be better again eventually as a creative
sure.
person, if that makes sense. So having
Yeah,
that other perspective now, especially in marketing and seeing that other side of the funnel, I'm able to take that and say, okay, yeah, 2 years ago, I probably actually would have done this project slightly differently because of this output and understanding what sales needed in this situation.
yeah,
So having that gain perspective is good. I think for me personally, I needed a little bit of a shift to also feel like I was getting new skills. Um,
hmm,
my personality too is once I feel like I'm kind of not challenged at a certain point, then I need to like reach for something else.
sure.
Um, but I still like I said, it's definitely a part of who I am, and I get excited now to do like a freelance project or to take my new drone or my new camera out and go do something different that maybe I wouldn't have done a year ago just because it's super fresh. I'm like, all right, how can I do this differently that I haven't done
Yeah.
before?
Yeah. Yeah. I've found that working in technology, it's on the technology side and even developers and writing code and things like that. I've always found that it's pretty interesting that people tend to not think of those people that work in tech as being creative or needing creative outlets. And I think there's a lot of focus that people put on or don't put on um, that group or audience of like trying to push them towards creative outlets and avenues. Because I find that the thing you talked about there was just like the being creative and then stepping away from it. The stepping away from it part and stepping away at the right time from creativity, in my mind, is a skill that you need to have to be a good creative person. Um, because you can get yourself into a rut and you think that you're doing the right thing. And you think that you're making something cool, or if you're making just art, it's like good artists as they're making stuff, they it's the knowing when it's done part and not overdoing it. Um, it is something that I find that like the more successful artists and the people that their art resonates more with and creativity resonates more with, and this is in writing and everything, is they haven't just like overdone it so much, that they're just like, okay, it's time to step away. Let's get a different perspective, and then we can come back and take a look and do whatever it might be.
For sure. And I think if you look at, so you're mentioning artist, great artist, or even novelists, like some of the best novelists may take years in between each book.
Yeah.
Just gonna
Yeah.
put out there.
Uh, yeah, I may cut out here and there throughout this thing. It's one of the fun technical things. You're actually frozen on my screen right now. I just noticed. So maybe if you pause your camera and unpause it.
Dang it. Let me see.
But yeah, and we leave all these flibs and flubs in because I'm lazy and I don't like to edit.
I can edit it for you, I guess, too. I can help you. I could. Yeah, you're
uh,
fine. So I'm not sure.
okay, you're fine
Maybe
now.
it's
You're
me.
back to
Okay,
being
cool.
normal. So we're all good.
But yeah, I'll kind of, yeah, repeat a little bit of that. But I think, yeah, you look at, I think some of the best creative people, and studies will show this, you need to take breaks.
Yeah,
However, that is applied to your own life. Like if that's
yeah,
taking a quick walk, or if that's just taking a major step back and doing a little bit here and there, whatever that is. But I think the best creative people will surely find the rhythm in taking breaks.
yeah. Let's parlay that into our fun current situation with COVID. Um, Being disciplined about stepping away is something that I've acknowledged very early on in this whole COVID thing of knowing that because I've worked from home in various capacities my entire career, and had a nice had a workspace that I could call work and everything. A lot of folks that I know did not, and they would work from their kitchen tables and their couch, here on the couch in different places because they just didn't have a space for it, or if they did, that they just need to get away or whatever. But that what I've found is that the focus that we've had to put, and I've had to put as a leader, on making sure that I'm making sure my people are stepping away. I'll start to the mornings seem to have started earlier for most people. Not to pick on marketing people, but we didn't really like to get to the office super early in the morning. So, we're rolling in at 9. Maybe we took a conference call in the car or something on the commute, or whatever, answered a few emails in the morning when we left the gym or whatever. But, like the days are now like 7:30 in the morning. I'm having meetings and it's not that huge of a deal because it's just in my house and I don't have to go anywhere. I get up, take a shower, throw on a t-shirt. And I mean, as you can tell, I don't like care about my hair. It's stuff, facial things going on. This is all laziness. This is all COVID hair. But just basically like roll in, right? And the day started earlier, and then they kind of go a little bit longer now because it's like 5:30, 6.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
dinner. Oh, I have my laptop. It's already sitting downstairs on the dining room table because that's where I've been working all day, and I'm gonna sit down and have dinner. And it's like you're mixing all these things together. So I'd be interested to hear. I know you've talked about a little bit about in some other places about how you've handled the COVID situation and what like your focus has been on mentally, and I really want to dig into that and see what your thoughts are.
Yeah. So how I would answer that in 2020 is completely different how I would answer it in 2021.
Sure.
And how I would answer it in 2021 is because of 2020. Um, so I was becoming a remote employee right before the pandemic,
Yeah.
leaving an office I really liked that was changing, that was closing down, and counting on the fact that I would still be traveling and seeing people. I am definitely a little bit more on that extrovert side. So seeing
Yeah.
people actually gives me energy and makes me a happier person. And being out in the world does that for me.
Sure.
Um, so for 11 months, I went from over like 35 work trips, I think, in 2018 and 19 to not being on a plane for 11 months, which was a super strange transition,
Yeah.
um, personally and professionally. I mean, you saw me in Dallas like every other week there, it felt like for a while.
Yeah.
Um, so I did not leave the confines of my home office. And I was like, this is just like, of course, I'm being a good member of society. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. But what
Sure.
else can I do that is going to invigorate me in some other way? Um, and I started writing more. I taught myself some new skills with other things. Like I taught myself the stock market,
Okay.
which as a creative person was not ever something I was super interested in outside of
Yeah.
saving for retirement. But I got really into that. A couple of my friends were like, "You gave her Wolf of Wall Street and you play that movie one time, and now she's like gunning for it." Um,
Just as long as
I'm
you're
not
not like doing lines of coke and like banging on your
not
chest and
quite
yelling at people.
not quite Leonardo DiCaprio in that movie, no. But I was like, oh yeah, this is a good time to get in. I can talk about,
Sure.
voting as a board member, not a board member, as a stock shareholder. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. I got into it, but when 2021 started, I kind of went into the year with a theme,
Okay.
which I have done previously, but I this year it was going to be a super like action oriented kind of theme.
Okay.
So I chose elevate, which has been a great word and theme for me to have this year. I've
Yeah.
written it down on a post-it. I have it on my big monitor in my office. I look at it every single day. And it's interesting what your mind does when you do that. A couple years ago, I had one that was like be present because I felt like I was doing so many things all the time that I was
Sure.
not present. But this one, it's like you go to a meeting and somebody's talking about something and you think, how can I make this better? Or you're going for a walk and you're like, okay, I did 1 mile, I should do two,
Yeah.
right? Or I'm really good with my camera when I'm shooting in low light in this situation, but how about I mix it up and I do this? Or how about I
Yeah.
get a drone? So, I'll tell you that story if you would like.
I would love.
Uh,
I want to hear the telling of the drone saga. So, but we'll get on that here in a second.
I'll segue to the drone. It's all part of it. Um, but I have a couple relatives that have rental properties in Florida, and as somebody, they're like, we know you love to travel and you're used to doing that, and we're not renting it for January and February. Do you want to go down there? And I pretty much what dates?
Yeah.
Yes, please let me go. Um, so I started 2021 just working as a remote employee, if you
Yeah.
will. So I went down and just stayed and worked from Florida for the first part of the winter, and did things every day that were completely like life altering coming off of 2020. Like took
Yeah.
sunrise walks. Took a every afternoon at 2 p.m. would watch the dolphins.
Yeah.
Started like cooking healthier food that I was doing, but not making a point to like, okay, let's invest in wellness again the best you
Yeah.
can. And not everybody gets to do that, so I'm very fortunate that that was an option, right?
Right.
That I have family members that are looking out for me in that way. But part of that was like, okay, well, getting back to the creative conversation, I've really missed outdoor photography because I've not been traveling.
Yeah.
um, So like, I'm gonna buy a drone. We've been talking about this for a few years. We didn't do it at work. We didn't have one as a piece of equipment at work. This is gonna be a personal investment. I'm gonna teach myself how to fly this thing.
Yeah.
So it was actually the first one was a gift from my dad for Christmas. So he's still very sad about this somewhere. So I took it and I was like, all right, this drone's like 2 weeks old. I just got this as a present. This is gonna be
Yeah.
great. I'm gonna do all of the coastal shots I want.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go like full on. I'm gonna get some wildlife stuff. I'm gonna get like all of this cool stuff. The inaugural flight, take it out there, and this one, it's not the version I have now, and it's pretty hard to fly compared to what I have now. So knowing what I know now, I probably wouldn't have
Yeah.
been so confident with my first flight in this one. But it goes up like 20 feet, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna just kind of cruise to the right. We're gonna pan this, and it just like beelines towards the water.
Yeah.
And I have a good friend who is in the film industry, and she's actually a drone operator, and she's like, just make sure your GPS is set so that you have to hit like return to you that it can do that. And I was like, yeah, okay, sweet.
Yeah.
That's fine. I've operated like $100,000 cameras at events. What's this
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
drone gonna do? No, it didn't come back. It did not come back.
Yeah.
So I'm like chasing it down the beach, and these people are just kind of like, what is that girl doing? And it goes probably 30 feet out, just crashes into a wave.
Yeah.
And that was literally it. And somebody asked me, do you have video footage from like you chasing it? And I was like, I have pictures like right before, and then it just goes dark.
Yeah.
So, some of the rest of the story. I just kind of milked it after that, made a whole like drone story, like help me find the drone. Anyone? I checked
Yeah.
every day. Did it wash up? Like went out into the water? Like it has to be right here. Can't see it. Low tide. What's
Yeah.
going on? Where's the drone? Did not
Well,
get it
so
recovered, but
I loved watching that unfold for the days that it unfolded on Instagram. It was like one of my personal favorite moments on Instagram to watch that.
sweet. Thank you.
Not to like make light of the fact that you lost your drone. It pained me because I've always wanted to get a drone, and I have no reason that I need one. Like, I mean, I can make some parallels to reasons of why I would need camera equipment or whatever, right, for my kids and stuff and
Yeah,
documenting
yeah.
that. And my
hmm
wife's okay with that. And like, you know, most of the film cameras I have in my collection are ones that I've paid like $10 for, or I've gotten free from a garage, from somebody or whatever, just in a garage sale or whatever. And so I didn't really pay a lot of money for that. But then, the expense of film and all the other stuff that goes with it. But um, the drone part of it, it was just like I really wanted one, and I was like so excited to see that you got one because I love your photography, and I was like, she's gonna do some cool shit with this, and it's gonna be awesome. And then it was like, oh my God, this is bad. I
Yeah.
hope do we need to start a GoFundMe to fire a new one?
Oh my God, that's actually really funny. The best text I got was somebody sending me a missing, like when you post something if you're missing your dog or your cat.
Yeah,
It's like, help me find my drone. I was like, why didn't I do that? That's so funny. Um, yeah, it was quite sad there. It put a damper on that week a little
yeah,
bit, but yeah, I'm just gonna have fun with this now
yeah.
because I'm gonna poke fun at myself as somebody that knows cameras. I just crashed this into the Gulf of Mexico. So,
Yeah, that's it probably wasn't
yeah,
a cheap adventure there. You know, not to belabor it, I probably wouldn't have flown it over water the first time because I've never
this
flown
is
a drone, so I don't know how hard they are to fly.
this is
Um,
a really good testament to being overconfident with camera
sure.
equipment the first time. No, I wouldn't have flown it over water either. Had I would have
Yeah,
known what happens.
yeah,
But yeah, the second one I got has been totally awesome and a lot easier to fly. And I
yeah.
redeemed myself and I flew it over water about a month ago over Lake
Okay.
Michigan. So
Oh, that's
it
cool.
was like I got my sea legs back, if you
Yeah,
will. So
yeah,
I felt good about that. But they're awesome. It kind of plays into the elevating theme, I guess, and
yeah,
literally. Um, so it's been fun.
That's
Definitely
cool.
want to do some more cool stuff with it.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for you to dig into it more and see what you do with it. To parallel and it's good to talk to somebody like you and your response to the COVID situation, um, because I've felt very alienated myself in my response to it. And I'll just play this out and we'll see where it goes. But basically, at the beginning of the COVID stuff, I was worried and scared for about 2 weeks, um, of the unknown, of like, oh my God, like, am I going to walk outside and I'm going to die? Like, what's going to happen? I went down the dark tunnels of like supply chain, food, resources, like water, like the essential survival skills. Thank God I'm a Eagle Scout and I know how to do all this crazy crap. I'm like, you know, I went as far as to like start thinking about like how am I going to trap squirrels in the backyard so we can eat. Like I went to the very dark place with it, right? But then after about 2 weeks, I was like, you know what? Hold on a sec. What the fuck am I doing here? Like, let me back this up. Let's back this train up. This is an opportunity for me to do something positive in my life. This is an opportunity that I've been given to change some things that I didn't like about what was going on in my life. And one of those being my ability to be a good dad, and be around for my kids, and be there for my wife as well. And so, as everybody's like, "Oh my God, I have to work from home," I'm like, "What a freaking blessing!" Like, I don't have to drive to the office anymore. Like, I get to wake up and I'm not hurried to give my kids breakfast. Like, I can have lunch with them. I can have dinner with them. I mean, I can sit there and work while they're doing schoolwork and do all like this is the most amazing thing ever. I love my family and I want to be around them, and I've not been able to for a lot, for a long time. I don't live close to the office, and so it's like 42 miles away, so it's about in the morning about an hour, and on the way home about an hour and a half drive. So 2.5 hours out of the day, um, I'm in a car,
Yeah,
stuck in a
that's fair.
car,
Yeah.
and I can't go anywhere because it's on the highway and I'm stuck in traffic. And it's just like, there was moments in that process of like going through that where I had like like real mental challenges and with that when I would think about it, because I'm just like, I'm stuck here. Like I cannot get out. I can't like I'm completely out of I have zero control over this situation. Um, which also helped when I had that realization, because then I wouldn't get mad about traffic. I was just like, whatever, it is what it is. This is what I got to do today. Today I got to go sit in the car, you know. Um, and so like having switching my head and switching my brain to be like, let's, this is actually, I'm going to draw good experiences out of this, and focus on all the positive. And I didn't have the word elevate, but I think that's probably, as I think about it, like how I started to look at things. Um, I started to work out more because I was like, well, hell, if it's not a matter of if, it's when I'm going to get this. This is contagious as they say it is. I need to be ready for the fight, So I'm gonna start eating better. I'm gonna start exercising more. I'm gonna like do breathing exercises. I'm gonna start doing all these, like I just was like, let's go, bring it. If you're gonna hit me with COVID, I'm gonna hit you back because I'm ready. I'm gonna like make sure I'm ready for the fight, mentally and physically. And so it's interesting and good to talk to you, because it seems like you kind of had that same thought process where there were so many other people that I'm around that are close friends of mine, and people that I know, and just, whoever in the neighbors, whatever, they're just like, they haven't left their house. They haven't like gone anywhere. They don't do it. Like, it's like, oh my God, what are you doing to yourself?
Right.
You know, it's good to be cautious. It's good to be concerned, but man, the mental taxing of that, and not like being so not having a positive view while this is going on, it's been, for those people, it's probably gonna like have long-term effects on their mental and physical health, I would imagine. But
For sure. I think we will see a lot of mental health issues come out of this, especially with, I mean, any age, but kids and stuff too.
yeah,
Um, but I guess not every day was always easy. I think it was
Sure.
kind of a after 2020 where a lot of the phone calls, because everybody's feeling this way, you're dealing with a lot of people who are used to being out doing things for
Yeah.
work or personal, and everybody's kind of like this on phone calls. Hey, same
Yeah.
old, same old. And so I just decided at one point, like, it can't be part of that every day, all day.
Yeah.
So what can I do for myself kind of situation? So yeah, working remotely, just removing myself from the same four walls and going to a different set of four walls in
Yeah.
Florida with a really nice view.
Yeah.
um, changed that, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, and they like hearing about it, kind of like what you're saying too, where they're like, yeah, like I'm watching you do this, or like thank you for taking these pictures, or like this is really helping. This is just giving me something to remember about how life used to be, and it's still, I mean, it's not the same, right? I'm
Yeah.
you know, I'm just removing myself from one place and going to another, but I'm not going to
Right.
Florida in the same way I would pre-COVID.
Yeah.
But it's definitely helped. And then I think having new skills like either the stock market or the drone, or
Sure.
taking that time to sit back, or if you're a parent and saying like, okay, well, I wanted to write more this year also. So I've been doing more of that since I'm
Yeah.
not doing it full time at work. I have more energy to do it outside of work. So I'm going to write some more movie scripts like I used to like to do. Whether or not a studio ever buys them, don't know, but now I'm going to have them done,
Yeah.
which was a dream I had, all my life. But you do find ways to do, I think, things that work for you. And if you don't, then yeah, you're just going to be completely miserable all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It was I don't know if you found this. It was hard. Like it's hard to like pull yourself away from that and separate from that. And um I also got to the point there's because I actually didn't change my behavior in terms of like going places. I kind of amped it up a little bit and I started intentionally going to more places than I would have before and doing more things. Um, and when I say places, I mean like going hiking and to parks and things like it's like, let's go. Like we got to get out of the house and we got to keep everybody sane and happy. We're gonna get out and do stuff. Um, and we actually probably do more now or did over the last year than we did for the year before because it's really intentional. It's like we got to check the box every day that says we went somewhere, we left the house, we went and did something to have some level of normalcy. And I think it alienated some people to see that me just kind of going and doing crap, all the time. Or people are like, "Oh man, that's well, where do you live? That's like that you could do all that." And I was like, "I live in Texas, one, which." We have a little bit different mentality government wise around how we deal with all of this, but you know, still even before that, it was like nobody's saying you can't go outside, you know, go walk around, go outside. I actually, at the beginning of it, I saw and got to meet more of my neighbors than I probably have before because they were all getting out walking and doing stuff like that too. So that was good. It seems to have fallen off a little bit, and I think some folks have fallen back into the ruts of just the normalcy of being on a screen and talking and doing all that stuff all day, which has its own challenges.
Yeah, for sure. And I also tried to do more parks. So in the Kansas City area where I am, it's like, let's try a new park every week. So like, let me
Yeah,
take a walk instead of just doing the same loop. I used to be a runner. I don't really run on my knees as much as I used to anymore, but I will definitely walk. So I'm like, let me do different, like, again, the change of scenery was, I think, just the
yeah,
thing that just changed my world in 2021. And I'm
yeah,
doing it all safely. I'm not being completely irresponsible with it, but
yeah,
it, yeah, I think there's definitely value in trying to do your best given a horrible situation. So,
yeah. Yeah, I probably, in most people's eyes, have done this completely irresponsibly, but that's my life, so that's
Can't
how
I
I
wouldn't
roll.
say camping, all your camping trips. No, I would say that's like you're not around anyone when you're camping.
Yeah, yeah, it's all the other things I do, like play disc golf with large groups of people in the woods. But
That is one sport I have not tried yet. I know I have
yeah,
another friend, well, Ian, who you know,
yeah, Ian,
who's
yeah,
been telling me I should start that. He's like, "You like sports? You can do this." But
yeah,
I don't. I need to figure out how, like, the motion of it and
yeah. So
go out and
it's
practice.
interesting. This is one of the sports that I don't know if I want to call it a sport. I'm kind of in the middle of like, is it a game or is it a sport? But whatever. Um, it's physically demanding in some respects. Although you can smoke a pack of cigarettes while you do it, which has always been my determination of whether it's a game or a sport, which makes baseball not a sport,
Ah,
which hurts my heart to say. So,
that's kind of funny. Yeah, I guess that's true. I played softball. I guess if I was a smoker, I could have smoked a cigarette at shortstop. That might not
yeah.
have gone well if they hit the ball at me, but I guess you could do you okay, fair.
I think
Fair.
in the 70s and 80s they were smoking in the dugouts, so it's like between innings. So,
Awesome.
um, but yeah, I think it's a fun one because it's just the fact of getting out in nature. Like that's been my theme this year is like touch a tree. Like get out into nature, be around the trees, the whatever. And it doesn't have to be like you don't have to go deep in the woods. Go to a local park and just take a deep breath, you know, some fresh air that's not in your house. Sit there. I'm really big into meditation. I have been for several years. I amped it up for a while there at the beginning of COVID, and I'm back down to like my normal routine of daily meditation. I was doing it a couple times a day just to keep myself like in check mentally and make sure everything was going well. Because I had, during all that time, it's stressful. Like work was stressful, life was stressful, everything is coming at you, all the news is stressful. And so it's like, okay, let's just check back in with yourself. So, but
Hmm.
anyways, I think the point being of that is just having that getting outside. Um, and I think that's the biggest thing about disc golf. Plus, it's just fun. I just enjoy it, and uh, you know,
Getting outside, I think, is something people underestimate about quality of life and overall health at times. I
yeah,
think human beings, we're meant to be outside.
yeah,
You don't have to be outside all day if you don't want to be, but I think, yeah, there's a lot of natural health benefits just from going outside, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
I was never somebody that was inside as a kid. As an adult, I would much rather be outside,
yeah.
for sure.
I'm my wife and I are pretty. Well, we're hippies, like in today's terms standards. I'm really big on like going out, like as much as I can, as long as it's not like freezing ass cold, which only happened for a short amount of time here in Texas this year, and it was
Yeah,
the
you
most
guys got
epic
a
ice storm
winter.
ever.
Yeah,
Dear God.
yeah,
Uh, Talk about like thinking you're gonna die. You
right.
guys are probably like
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
but um,
Nah, I mean, no, that was you guys. That was legit cold for you. That was not
yeah,
good.
yeah. Well, and you're not. I mean, we don't have. We nothing was prepared. We don't have. How do we even prepare for something like that? It's like,
No,
we're still dealing with.
Wisconsin, you're still dealing with all of it. Yeah, right. Fixing your
Yeah,
house, fixing your pools, all of that. Yeah, Wisconsin people send their kids to school. It's like 3 feet of snow. The buses are running. Kansas
yeah,
City, we closed down school. It's like 5 inches of snow. Texas, it's like raining, and people are like, hold on, hold on. There's weather, and it's not
yeah,
100-degree heat. But yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you guys weren't equipped for that at all.
yeah. Um, but what I was saying is just like getting out and I think there's like an official term for this, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I'm sure any of my hippie friends listening to this will be angry that I don't know it. But I go outside barefooted and stand in the grass and like let dirt touch my feet several times, like every day at least. Um, Even when it's
There
cold and it's
is a
not
term
like,
for that. I
um,
do know that term actually, and now I can't think of it either, but
is it
that is a
grounding?
scientific thing.
Is it grounding?
It
No.
might just be grounding. So Zac Efron has a documentary on Netflix that he was doing, going around different
Okay.
parts of the world, and the guy that's touring with him actually talks about doing that after getting off of an international flight.
Yeah.
And it might be grounding and just
Okay.
kind of centering yourself back into the earth
Okay.
and the health effects to that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're right.
So I'm not like into like crystals and stuff, but I do think that there is like, I think that like our body, as you talk about that, I think there is like huge benefits to your brain to say, okay, like we're back in nature, we're back where we, genetically belong in some respect. We're not touching artificial stuff all the time, these weird feelings like this is grass, we know what grass feels like. This is dirt, we know what dirt is. And also, I don't mind doing that because then I pick up germs, small amounts of germs, and then they help me, boost my immune system and stuff like that. So I'm sure there's like scientists, if they were to watch this, would be like, "You're a fool, Mike." But whatever. That's how I believe.
No, I think we're onto something. If it's making
Yeah,
us happier and healthier, then we're onto something.
yeah, definitely. So,
But
marketing and technology and all that fun jazz. You're you're a minority in the technology space, right? As a female. Talk to me about that a little bit. Talk to me about what that life is like for you. Have you seen it progress? Are you seeing it progress? Are you seeing it degress? Like, where are there opportunities for you and for all of us to help grow and embrace females in technology?
sure. So yes, I've always been. Well, I've been in tech my entire marketing career.
Hmm.
Um, whether that was a small startup where it was like 5 people to now at a global company. And it's interesting because personally, I'm the oldest and I have 2 brothers. So I grew up around boys and men. So,
Yeah,
like, basically was treated like a boy growing up.
yeah,
My dad was always like, you can do anything that they can do, and you
sure.
can do it better if you want to.
Yeah,
So I kind of grew up with that mentality. So I wasn't really afraid ever in that way to speak up or to, if you're the only woman in the room, but it is definitely something that you notice, right? Like you feel it. Sometimes you have to speak a little bit louder. Sometimes you
yeah,
have to interrupt people just to make sure that you're being heard. But I think, yeah, I think it's great to see other women in the space. And I
hmm,
mean, I definitely follow a lot of those tech leaders on social media, or I read blogs. I try to join lean-in groups when I can and listen to certain things. Um, but I think, yeah, it's a lot different than it was when I was starting my career 12 years ago as to now. I think it's kind of like eventually, I mean, I don't want people to look at me like, oh yeah, Lisa's a girl. I want them to look at me and
yeah,
be like, oh yeah, Lisa had a really good comment. Like,
yeah,
doesn't matter who I am, right?
sure.
Um, so I think it's definitely interesting. I don't know, there's probably some science at play there in biology in terms of why there's not as many women in tech
Yeah,
naturally. I certainly have a lot of friends who are, whether they're in like the medical field or they're engineers, or I have some friends that do software development too.
yeah,
So it's really around all of those techie people. Um, so it's interesting. I think the best thing you can do is just have conversations.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's definitely getting a little bit more prominent to where you see more women in leadership roles and doing other
yeah,
things where you're like, yeah, that girl's a badass. I want to be like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I think I have a kind of a unique perspective on it, in that, uh, and I think it draws directly from my life experiences, and it starts as in childhood. Um, my sister is the smartest person I've ever met in my entire life, and I have idolized her and her intelligence, like, and was uh, this is the bad part. I was like held to those standards, and I didn't. I I was a fuck up in high school and everything else. Yeah, I did good enough. I was in some honors classes and stuff. I was a smart kid, but
You just weren't into
um,
it.
I just wasn't into it. Like, she
Yeah,
graduated top of the class. Like,
right.
she, this literally the smartest person I know. And so I'm just like always looked at her not as like a female, but just somebody that's super smart. And so my entire career, I can't, there's only been a few times where I didn't have like a female boss. And so it was never like, it's never been a thing where I've ever noticed it. Which is, I think, part of, as we start to talk about like diversity and inclusion and things like that in the workplace, and that becomes more of like a topic that people have conversations about. I'm kind of always like, well, this isn't this like, I don't notice that Lisa's a girl. Like, Lisa's just smart and has good ideas. Like, doesn't
I mean,
everybody
she
think that
crashed her
way?
drone. Yeah, well, she didn't crash it because she's a girl. She crashed
Yeah,
it because she was getting overconfident. Right, right,
yeah,
right. But that's good. And I mean, I'm not sure everybody has that viewpoint for whatever reason.
sure.
Maybe it's how they grew up. Like, I guess, my background, like I said, plays into why I am the way I am growing up
Yeah,
around boys.
yeah,
Um, but no, that's good, Mike. I like
yeah.
that you said that.
Um, but I don't know, like, so the problem for me is that, as a male, like people, in the diversity conversation, we'll just talk male and female for now. Uh, it's kind of like looked at, well, like, well, what are you doing actively to help promote females in the workplace? And I'm like, I'm not doing anything I wouldn't normally do. I'm hiring people that are qualified to do the job, and it just so happens that they're female. Okay, cool. Like,
Right, right, right.
and I'm not like, I don't ever look at it like, oh, I need to actively go hire or try to push females into technology. If they want to do it, they want to do it. And that, to me, that I think that's where I kind of have some of the challenges with it when I start thinking about it, is because I don't know how to react to it, to say, okay, well, how do I help the situation, other than just like the fact that I just go through life floating through things like I normally do, where I'm like, oh, everything's fine. Oh, okay, everybody thinks like me. Okay. And then it's like, oh, no, they don't. you know?
I wish
And
they
how do I
did
get into that?
actually.
How do I get into that
Yeah.
conversation? And how do I have that conversation with people? Or how do I act differently? Or what steps do I need to do as a male to try and help promote that? And so that's where I get it's so screwed up in my head of like, well, what do I do? you know?
I think the hardest and most eye-opening thing with me changing from a creative role to more of a marketing and salesy type role
Yeah.
is the perspective shift.
Hmm.
And it's something I've talked to a lot of people about. It's advice I got going into it. It'll make you, stronger. You can have more
Yeah.
perspectives. But I think this is the same kind of thing where it's all about perspective and what you're bringing to the table, whether you know it or not. And I
Sure.
find the people that grow the most are the ones that are open to listening to other perspectives.
Yeah.
And that is usually the hardest first step because I'm usually like, can someone listen, please? Anyone listen? I'm
Yeah.
not going, like, it doesn't hurt you to listen, right? You can do your
Yeah.
own thing either way.
Yeah.
So, but I think that definitely is a good first step is just, being open to somebody else's perspective on a topic.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting one. That's what's kind of been. Oh, maybe, man, I'm like starting to like break down my psychology of my brain here for a second on this podcast. Um, like, I think that's why I started doing this podcast, is to talk to people to get those different perspectives, because I wanted to make sure I wasn't like in a rut thinking about stuff. And I've started with talking to all the people that I know. Eventually, if I can make it work, I'd love to talk to people I have no idea who they are, so that I could come in, because everybody I've talked to, I'm like, okay, I've worked with this person, done some project, I know them at some level, and I kind of like know what they're bringing to the table, and what we can and can't talk about, or should or shouldn't talk about, for what for just topic reasons or whatever. But um, I think, as I've gone through just, I think this is like episode 6 now, maybe, or 7, somewhere around in there. I can't even keep track anymore. Um, I'm starting to learn a lot more about like myself through this process, more so than I'm learning from other people. Like, going through this conversation of like expressing opinions and thoughts and ideas about stuff, it's forcing me to, yes, I'm listening to the people that I'm talking to, but it's forcing me to say, okay, is what you're saying right? Like, are you in the right good space with this? Like, is this valid? Um, and I think a lot of people that go in and say like, my opinion is the only opinion, in conversations and work, or ideas of how you execute something or whatever it might be, marketing, sales, anything. I think those are the people that probably would benefit the most from talking to talking to out loud more, but like taking
For
a
sure.
moment to be like, is that right? Instead of just like, that's right, and being
Yes.
overconfident.
Yes. 100% agree. I can play back so many scenarios where that has been the case, where I think that's kind of the strategy in getting, and as you lead a team, or whatever role or whatever level you're in a company, I think, yeah, getting getting those perspectives across, or at least getting a person to the point where they're willing to listen to it, is
Yeah,
usually like a huge win. Like I may have to like chip away at something like five
yeah,
different meetings, but if on the sixth meeting I'm like, finally, and it works, I'm like, thank you. Then I feel like I brought something to the table.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think there's definitely growth there for the people that are willing to listen to what others have to say.
yeah, definitely. Um, this has been good. This has been really good. I've really enjoyed this conversation. So thank you.
Good. I
This is
like
just like
having like
another
real conversations with people.
This is just
I,
another in the like string of like good stuff. That's like the whole thing, the whole reason I wanted to do this whole podcast was I wanted it to be like the least uh business minded podcast. Like I don't want I mean, you said earlier like let's edit this out. I'm probably not going to edit any of this stuff
hey,
out. I'm just
well,
going to roll with it.
cool.
Because I want it to be I want this like I value these conversations with people that I look up to and trust. And so hopefully other people see that, but I like the genuine conversations that we can have. And it's especially right now, it's so hard to try and I mean, these are the kind of conversations that you'd have while you're traveling, at a conference, while you're waiting for the next thing to happen, while you're grabbing a beer in the evening or dinner or something like that, and you have just some of these open conversations, and you just don't have it anymore. Like,
Right. It's you get on a work call, it's all work, you hang up, you jump to the next one, and yeah, you
yeah,
definitely lose that. I'm pinging people like, "Hey guys, how are you? What's up?"
yeah,
In between calls, because there's just none of that human aspect right now
yeah,
without having that. So yeah, no, this has been great for me too in that way.
yeah. Yeah, I've been lately. I've been sending these emails to people. I'm like, don't need nothing, don't want nothing. Just saying, hey, hope you're doing well.
You can send that email to me. I will always respond to it. I will say, "Hey, sweet, did you take a walk? How are you?"
Yeah, I mean that's just what it is. It's just like I was like, oh, I'm thinking about somebody that I talked that I would see in the office all the time, and we would just shoot the shit.
Right.
And then it was like, but then now I don't see them ever because none of our work crossed anyways. It was just like another person, human that shared our space. I'm just like, what are they
Yeah.
up to, man? I haven't talked to them in a long time. And then it's like, hey, don't need anything.
That is 100% how I feel. That is the biggest thing I miss about being in an office too.
Yeah.
COVID aside, just being a remote employee. Yeah, I definitely miss having, we used to call them drive-bys. It's like if
Oh
Katie
yeah.
walked, like Katie leave her office, I'm like, "Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Tell me something funny that happened last
Yeah.
night." Like, you just don't have any of that.
Yeah. Well, I think I'll tell them myself. I think productivity, if you want to measure productivity and the amount of like work you're doing, productivity has like probably doubled or tripled for me in terms of like working remotely because I have zero distractions. Nobody's stopping by my desk to just shoot the shit and talk about the scores from the game the day before, or whatever their kid did this weekend, or they want to just say hello or whatever, right? Like there's hours a week of that kind of interaction and conversation going on in the office, and that doesn't happen. So it's like that's been replaced with work. So uh they should just make us all work still remotely. That's my goal in life, is to continue just to work remotely because I love the way it's worked out for me.
I think yeah, it's good, and as long as I still have some of the human action or
Yeah,
interaction, then I'm good with it. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
So cool.
but
Do you feel
yeah,
like
well,
we've
thank
talked
you.
about it all? Is there anything else you want to cover? I want to be respectful of your time. I know we're a little over the
Sure.
hour.
I started a little late for you there. I know. I think you hit a lot of key things. Hopefully, people enjoyed our therapy session here.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your sharing your most precious gift with me of time. I appreciate that. And all the information that you passed on, and hopefully people have listened and gotten some good stuff out of this. So,
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, as long as we can get one person to feel or learn something from it, then I think we're doing the right thing. So
yeah. Well, I feel better now. So I'm going to
I
be
know you
selfish and
besides you.
say,
You count. Okay. I got one. I'm
there you
good.
go. All right.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
All right. Talk soon.
Bye.